Temple Owls will look to continue in the right direction this fall after tripling their win total from 2013 last season. They went from 2-10 to 6-6, anchored by one of the top defenses in the country. Continuing off last season's momentum, they have most of their guys back, and no doubt this will be one of the most interesting teams to keep an eye on this season. Temple returns 10 starters and almost its entire second string from a defense that ranked 4th nationally in scoring last season. Linebacker Tyler Matakevich enters his senior year with 355 career tackles and is the only active Division I player with at least 300 career stops. Matakevich could become the 7th FBS player to register 4 seasons with at least 100 tackles and is an All-America candidate.
I mean, coaches always stress on buying in and stuff like that, and it sounds cliche, and all the kids would always hear the coaches saying buy in, like you're not bought in. Yeah, you're talking about like I'm bought in. But eventually I think that was just the turning point where guys, defensive guys, older guys like myself, Matt Ioannidis, Will Hayes, and Tavon just finally said enough's enough, and we just had all the guys, each position, just taking responsibility for one another, and everybody, especially on the defensive side, just in here late nights, just studying our opponents and just really knowing what we had to do each week to be successful. And I think that was a big jump that we finally made.
Tackle Matt Ioannidis and defensive end Praise Martin Oguike combined for 11 sacks and 21 tackles for loss, which helped free up Matakevich last season. Cornerback Tavon Young led the American with 153 yards on interception returns last fall. Young had 4 interceptions, which ranked 6th in the conference. The offense returns quite a bit as well. The Owls starting QB PJ Walker's back, as well as 2 of 3 primary rushers and 3 of the top 4 receivers. Coach Matt Rule's strong recruiting has also provided great depth and new blood. 4 3-star running back recruits, 2 3-star receivers, and a 4-star redshirt freshman lineman join the fold. Center Kyle Friend anchors an offensive line, which returns 4 starters from last year. Looking ahead to this year's schedule, Temple opens up at home against Penn State, then heads to Cincinnati for their first conference game of the season. The Owls will have to take on UCF and East Carolina in mid-October before hosting Notre Dame at Lincoln Financial Field. They close out the regular season against Memphis and UConn at home. For Temple this year, it's about continued improvement. If the Owls can turn those close losses from 2014 into wins, there's infinite opportunity for the Cherry and White in 2015. The defense is solid, and if the offense can step up this fall, there's no reason the Owls can't be a conference contender. Coming up, we take a closer look at Coach Rule's squad. We have John DiCarlo from owlscoop.com on the phone. That's up next. Welcome back. We're now joined on the phone by John DiCarlo, the editor at owlscoop.com. He's been covering Temple for over 15 seasons. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us today, John.
No problem. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
All right, well, everybody's back for Temple this year. How high are the expectations for this 2015 Temple team?
I think the expectations now are for Temple to contend for that first East Division title, get to the American Championship game, and get back to a bowl game. At the same time, they open against Penn State at home to start the season, and they have Notre Dame coming in on Halloween. So you have 2 really tough, high-profile non-conference games there, combined with playing Cincinnati and ECU on the road. So when you factor that in, improvement for Temple could mean going 8-4, 9-3 this season after going 6-6 last year with the schedule that they have. And then when you look at both sides of the ball, they're bringing everyone back to a defense that was 4th nationally in scoring defense. So those guys are looking to go from being a very good defense to a really elite defense. And that would mean, turning in that game-changing turnover or a touchdown to beat a team like Penn State or Notre Dame. And then on offense, they need to establish more playmakers around P.J. Walker and have more of a sustained running game. And they were dead last nationally in third down conversion percentage last season. So that obviously has to change if they want to be as good as they think they can be this year.
Let's talk about Tyler Matakevich, the heart and soul of the defense. He has the potential to be an All-American this season. What makes Tyler such a special player?
He's a great tackler. He's always been a very good player from the time he got to Temple. He was the Big East Defensive Rookie of the Year as a freshman. Yeah, he led the country in solo tackles per game as a sophomore and then led the American in solo tackles last season. What you're seeing now is that the defense got immeasurably better from 2013 to 2014 as the guys around him got better, so he didn't have to be the hero on every play. So he's always had a nose for the ball. He's always played hard. He's always been coachable. All those cliches that you hear about players, he's got it. When Matt Rule came back to Temple as the head coach, he knew what he had in Tyler because he recruited him when he was an assistant at Temple. And Tyler really didn't have any big offers coming out of high school. And when he prepped at Milford Academy up in Connecticut, again, he's always been a tackling machine. But Matt challenged him early on to be a guy that can do more than just make tackles. Anybody can make tackles. How many, wow plays, impact plays are you going to make? So now it's a matter of finding out, what's his ceiling? Is he going to turn in a tackle for a loss or a sack or a sack or a fumble recovery that helps him lock down a conference title or beat Notre Dame, beat Penn State? Is he good enough to be a first-round pick, a second-round pick, a third-round pick? Again, he's shown that he can be a very good, solid player, and now it's just a question of how good is he going to be. I don't know if he's going to be, Khalil Mack good or maybe a first-round pick, but maybe you're talking about maybe a future second, third-round pick in the NFL, but a guy that really does truly play hard on every play, and things have gotten a little bit easier for him as the guys have gotten better around him. Guys like Matt Ioannidis, the secondary's gotten better, so as they improve, things become a little bit easier for him because he's always seen the field well and he's always tackled well, so now this is going to be his last year to see truly how good he can be before he goes on to the NFL.
At quarterback, P.J. Walker, he showed real flashes in his freshman year, seemed to have maybe taken a little bit of a step back last year. How has he progressed this spring, and what have the coaches really focused on with him?
He had a good spring game, and yeah, you're right. I mean, especially, statistically speaking, he took a step backward last year. In their spring game, in Temple spring game, they went offense versus defense, so it was the best of the best instead of a watered-down split squad game, and he looked sharp and confident in that game. They have a redshirt freshman wide receiver in Ventel Bryant who looked like he's ready to become a viable option for them. Sam Benjamin and Ramon DeLoach look good too. And that's key because, other than Jalen Fitzpatrick, PJ did really not have a go-to receiver last year. He didn't have anybody other than Jalen who was simply able to go out, beat his defender on the edge or in the slot and get the ball. So when PJ didn't have a clean pocket, he'd either get forced out of the pocket or try to make a play that wasn't there outside the pocket, and he'd get burned with an interception or a fumble. So it's a combination where he had to make better decisions than he did last season, but he also needs more help around him if we're looking at things right down the middle. And the offensive line, I think, is going to be better this year. There was a lot of mixing and matching there, and they kind of knew it was going to be that way last season. And maybe the biggest thing for him could be the addition of his new quarterbacks coach Glenn Thomas. He was Matt Ryan's position coach with the Falcons last season. They worked well together in the spring, it looked like. And they also brought in Frisman Jackson, who was NC State's wide receivers coach. He played in the NFL before with the Browns, and it looked like Frisman already had an impact on that group, even just in terms of route running and stuff. So, and again, if they have a couple more viable options at running back, they're bringing in a couple of very talented freshmen who could get them away from being that team that just couldn't convert a third down last year. So when you factor all that into it, and factor in his good spring, I think you're going to see him bounce back and again have more help around him, which will be key for him.
You touched on it a little bit, but a couple chances to make a big statement in their non-conference schedule. Penn State and Notre Dame. How do you think they stack up against those two teams?
They've always had a chance. I mean, there were a couple of seasons against Penn State back in 2011. They lost by 4 here in Philly. The year before they lost by 9 out at Penn State. They've knocked on the door a few times. Even when they played Notre Dame a couple of years ago where the talent gap was wider, they held it close in the first half. Now I think defensively they have a shot. They have guys on defense, whether it's Matt Ioannidis, whether it's Tyler Matakevich, whether it's Nate Smith, guys like that, an improving guy in the secondary like Alex Wells, guys that are probably going to be playing in the NFL. They have guys on defense now that can go out and make a play, get a game-changing turnover, get to the quarterback, praise Martin Aguique on the end at defensive end. They have guys that can affect the game on that end of the field. So now, again, if you can bring in maybe a T.J. Simmons as a true freshman or a Raquel Armstead or a Ventel Bryant, they have the opportunity. They really, just as simple as it sounds, they've just got to go out and do it because they've seen that they can play with those teams. I mean, even beating East Carolina here last year at home was a huge thing for them. So they know it's possible for them. So if they can just go out and make a couple of those game-changing plays, that's really all it's going to take. And it would be a huge thing for them on the recruiting trail as well, because they've out-recruited programs now, not all the time, but they've recruited over Pitt, they've recruited over Penn State, Maryland. So to go out and beat a Pitt, at Penn State or Notre Dame, and then be able to take that out on the recruiting trail, that would be huge for them.
The past couple seasons, Matt Rhule's taken this program from 2-10 to 6-6. He's already made so many great strides with his program. What makes him the right guy for the job there in Philly?
He's very relatable. He's very practical. He's very engaging. Probably the most important thing is he was here as an assistant when Al Golden turned things around, when Steve Addazio continued that. And, you never say never. I mean, if he has a few more good years, he could always be gone. But I think I know for a fact he truly enjoys being in Philadelphia. He played at Penn State, but, he just said at an event recently, at an alumni event, he said, people always say I'm a Penn State guy, I'm a Temple guy. I've spent more time here now at Temple than I ever did at Penn State. So when you look at a lot of these former Temple players that are now in the NFL, like Terrence Knight and Muhammad Wilkerson, Tahir Whitehead, Bernard Pierce, Rod Streeter, Brandon McManus, they were either recruited by Matt when he was an assistant or he coached or developed them in some way. Now when you have, again, recruits coming in like TJ Simmons, like a kid like Kareem Ali who turned down Penn State in Florida and Maryland to come to Temple, it shows you that Matt, again, is relatable as a recruiter. He's, on the younger side. I think he just turned 40, and he shows guys that he really wants to be here. So he just finds a way to motivate guys. Now he has to prove that he can, as a head coach, go from 2-10 to 6-6 now to maybe 8-4, 9-3, win a bowl game, win a conference championship. Because even in the years that Al Golden was here, they never won, for as much as Al did. They never won a conference championship, and I know that that's something that Matt really wants to do. So he's proven that he can recruit. He's proven that he can develop talent now. He's just got to, turn that corner now as a head coach.
A lot of changes in conference play the past couple of seasons. This year, it's the West Division and the East Division. How do the Owls stack up against the rest of the East?
I think it's just going to come down to how good they are on offense. Again, they've proven again that they can, play well against some of those teams. They've beaten ECU. They have to turn the corner against a team like Cincinnati, but they're right there with all of them. And it's always kind of a crapshoot at this point in June to see, to try and think of what each team's going to be like. Yeah, they have to stay healthy. You have to see what they're going to be like in preseason camp in August. But I think they have a chance to be just as good as any of them. Going out and beating Cincinnati on the road, going out and beating ECU on the road, even though those teams have lost some players, those will be big challenges for them. But I think it's going to be fun just as a reporter to cover the league now, just to see how competitive things get when you're looking now at divisions and looking at that conference championship game for the first time. So I think that's going to give all those programs a little bit of extra juice. But I think they have a chance to be just as good as any of those teams right there. And then we'll start finding out very soon in August and September.
Well, I know we're excited to see Temple get back out on the field. Thanks again for taking the time to talk to us today, John.
No problem. Thanks, Haley. Appreciate it.
Again, John DiCarlo, owlscoop.com. Temple kicks off their season at home September 5th against Penn State. For the American Digital Network, I'm Haley Out. Have a great day.